Was the LAV III by General Dynamics Land Systems Canada one of the Canadian military's best procurement decisions in modern history? Well, against a backdrop of several heavily disliked projects, it certainly stands out as having fewer complaints and an arguably better reputation. And so let's use today's video to look at the developmental history of this now superseded platform, its specifications, and why Canadian service members considered it a solid vehicle. First off, we have to tell you that we did a very long video on the developmental history of the Piranha/LAV/Striker family, since they all began with the Piranha. Available on our sister channel Baltic Defense Review, that video goes all the way back to the early 1970s, so be sure to check it out if you're interested, because in this video, we're simplifying the early history a bit. The LAV III, as you might have guessed, was the successor to the LAV II. Believe it or not, the LAV II, as used by Canadian forces, was based on the LAV 25, which was developed by Canada's General Motors diesel for the United States Marine Corps in the early 1980s. The LAV II would enter Canadian service in 1989-1990 with the Bison armoured vehicle platform, and this would more notably include the Coyote reconnaissance vehicle in 1996. According to Harold A. Schaub of the website Silver Hawk Author, it was on August 16, 1995 that General Motors Diesel Division of London, Ontario, later renamed GM Defence and subsequently purchased by General Dynamics Land Systems, had been awarded the contract to produce the LAV III, which would replace aging Grizzly armoured vehicles, as well as a large portion of the Army's M113 armoured personnel carriers. Interestingly, the vehicle had been named the Kodiak, as in the subspecies of brown bear. However, the name never really caught on, and LAV III was what stuck. Taking many design choices from the Coyote, the LAV III would feature the same Delco Systems turret and weapon system as its older brother. This meant that a gunner trained on the Coyote would mostly feel right at home in the same role on the LAV III. And so the LAV III would first enter service in 1999, and the website of the LAV III Monument Project says that it was the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment that was the first unit equipped with the vehicle. The LAV III would be deployed to Afghanistan just a few years later in 2003. But before discussing its deployment, let's quickly get into the vehicle's technical specifications and upgrades. Its basic weight was 13.7 tons, while combat weight was about 17 tons. For dimensions, the vehicle's length was 6.98 meters, width 2.71 meters, and height 2.81 meters. Mr. Schaub states that the vehicle was powered by a Caterpillar 3126 diesel engine with an output of 350 horsepower. The LAV III's official webpage with the Department of National Defense notes that this engine was water-cooled with 6 cylinders and was connected to an automatic transmission which could operate in either 4- or 8-wheel drive. The vehicle was able to attain an on-road speed of 100 km per hour and off-road speed of 70 km per hour. On-road range was 450 km and it was reduced to 350 km when driving off-road. Its fuel capacity was 200 litres and it had a fuel consumption rating of 0.4 litres per kilometre. The LAV III has a crew of 3, the commander, driver and gunner, while the troop compartment has space for 7 dismounts. For weapons, the M242 25mm Bushmaster cannon was fitted to the aforementioned turret. The LAV III was also fitted with a C9A2 5.56mm light machine gun, a C6 7.62mm coaxial medium machine gun, and a 76mm multi-barrel grenade dispenser system, designed primarily for smoke grenades. There were 8 dispensers in total, 2 clusters of 4 launchers positioned on each side of the turret. Schaub states that the basic armor of the LAV III was NATO Stanag 4569 Level 3, which provides all-round protection against 7.62mm by 51mm rounds. If ceramic applique armor was added, this would protect against 14.5 by 114mm heavy caliber rounds from 500 meters. In December 2008, $81.5 million Canadian dollars was spent to provide add-on armor kits, modules, and spares for the Army's LAV IIIs. The armor kit was intended to provide increased protection against IEDs, explosively formed penetrators or EFPs, and 30mm caliber armor-piercing rounds. The LAV III could also be fitted with cage armor, providing protection against shaped charges. Demonstrating the massive difference in protection on deployment, one soldier we spoke with told us that the Taliban referred to the Coyotes as tin cans, while the LAVs were referred to as the Iron Dragon because they couldn't reliably penetrate them with their small arms like they could with the Coyotes. For sensors and systems, it said that the LAV III was equipped with a daytime optical thermal imaging system, or TIS, and Generation 3 image intensification. The turret also had a laser warning receiver. The vehicle was fitted with a tactical navigation system, or TACNAV, to assist them in navigation and target location tasks. The vehicle also had an LCD monitor directly connected to the vehicle's external cameras, providing real-time images of the battlefield for passengers. Most of this video focuses on the main infantry section carrier variant of the LAV III, an infantry fighting vehicle carrying dismounts. However, there was also a command post variant for field commanders with communication gear, as well as an observation post, or OP/reconnaissance version used for artillery forward observation. An engineer variant could carry tools and equipment to clear paths and fix roads, while a tow under armor, or TUA version, was able to launch anti-tank guided missiles. As explained by Canadian Army Today, of the 651 originally delivered, just 313 were infantry carriers, while 181 were command posts. The rest were a mix of the other aforementioned variants. While we're on the topic of variants, it's worth noting here that New Zealand purchased the LAV III and continues to operate it under the designation NZ-LAV. But moving on to major upgrades, the LAV III's first major modernization was announced in October 2011, with the Government of Canada awarding a $1.064 billion Canadian dollar contract to General Dynamics Land Systems Canada to deliver 550 upgraded LAV IIIs. This would see 409 basic vehicles receive turret and chassis upgrades, and 141 Lauret vehicles receive only turret upgrades. For those unaware, the Lauret, or LAV Operational Requirement Integration Task, was an upgraded variant developed to significantly improve crew survivability and operational storage based on combat lessons learned in environments like Afghanistan. The new chassis would feature a double V hull with a new suspension and driveline, while the old 350 horsepower engine would be replaced with a new, more powerful power pack from Caterpillar, having an output of 450 horsepower. Inside, seats would be replaced with new energy-attenuated seating, while GDLSC says that the vehicles would get a full digital electronic architecture with increased electrical generation and situational awareness and upgraded sight systems. Fast forward a few years to February 2017, and the government would expand upgrades through a $404 million Canadian dollar contract amendment to provide chassis upgrades to the 141 Lauret models as well. A government announcement says that the project would, quote, modernize a portion of the existing LAV III fleet to ensure it remains the backbone of domestic and expeditionary task forces. It'll also extend the lifespan of the LAV to 2035. The website Canadian Army Today says that even though it was labelled an upgrade project, little of the original LAV IIIs remained, and this would be the reason for redesignating the upgraded vehicles as LAV 6.0s. And so the LAV 6s are not fully brand new vehicles like we were told on a media trip to Latvia, although, to be fair, it's possible that our question was simply misunderstood. With so much of the LAV III being changed, maybe some would consider it an essentially brand new vehicle. But anyway, the mention of Latvia makes for a good transition to covering the vehicle's operational history. These days, the vehicles, now designated as LAV 6s, are deployed to the Baltic nation to serve as part of the Canadian-led NATO multinational brigade, and we had the privilege of riding in the back of one during one of our media trips. Prior to Latvia, there was Afghanistan, arguably the LAV III's most significant deployment. The armoured vehicle was the most commonly used Canadian platform in theatre and was used heavily for patrols and offensive operations. Wikipedia, which doesn't seem to link to a source for this information, states that the Army lost 13 LAV IIIs, while another 159 were damaged by IEDs or enemy fire. We have no reason to doubt these numbers, but there's always a possibility that they aren't fully accurate. It's added that hundreds of LAV IIIs have been in service with the Canadian forces at home and abroad. In addition to Afghanistan and the ongoing mission in Latvia, the vehicles have deployed on missions in Ethiopia and Eritrea, as well as Bosnia and Herzegovina. And so, why do soldiers hold the LAV III in high regard? Well, the LAV III Monument Project explains that in Afghanistan, the vehicle enabled infantry companies to move with reasonable safety and confidence to the widely dispersed areas. When assigned to operate in the countryside, the LAV provided a firm base to operate from, including communications, sensors, a point of resupply, a place and a means of casualty evacuation, and, most importantly, a base of fire when in enemy contact. Clearly, the platform was reliable enough to attract more love than hate, while its 8 wheels allowed for a decent level of off-road mobility and fantastic on-road mobility. A massive aid to this mobility, both on and off-road, was that the front 2 wheels on each side angled differentially in a turn, as you can see here. In terms of intercontinental transportability, 3 of the vehicles were able to fit in each of the Royal Canadian Air Force's CC-177 Globemaster IIIs, allowing it to be airlifted and moved quickly into operational theatres. Speaking with a former infantry officer who ran the LAV III implementation program for the 1st Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, while later serving 2 tours in Afghanistan, we're told that troops loved the firepower it provided. In fact, we're told that the adoption of the LAV III caused a wholesale reorganization of infantry companies and platoons, as it became apparent that this wasn't just an update of the preceding AVGP. Rather, it was a significant battlefield force multiplier on its own. As such, every platoon was reorganized to have an integral LAV sergeant to command the vehicles after the rest of the platoon dismounted, and these mechanized infantry companies gained a LAV captain who commanded those same vehicles from the company level, a capability which proved to be decisive in several actions between 2006 and 2010. Now, despite the vehicle being fairly well-liked, we did find one major issue throughout the platform's operational history: the risk of rollovers. Indeed, a 2014 report by the CBC noted that at the time, 51 soldiers had been injured and 5 others killed due to LAV III rollovers. Statistics shared by the Canadian Army showed there had been a total of 16 LAV III rollovers after more than 15 million kilometers of driving between 1999 and 2013/2014. As we don't have the full statistical data for the 2 vehicles, we're honestly not sure how this compares with the newer TAP V, a vehicle that we covered in a previous video known to have tip-over and rollover issues. The rollovers can mainly be attributed to the LAV III's top-heavy design, although a fatal rollover in Afghanistan in early 2006 saw speed as a likely contributing factor. It could also be argued that non-training rollovers were partly due to lack of familiarity with the operational environment. But again, the soldiers we spoke to about the LAV III, turned LAV 6.0, have mainly been positive about the platform. No doubt it has earned its reputation of reliability through the painful experiences of Afghanistan, but with more modern upgrades will hopefully give troops even more confidence in Latvia and beyond. To quote that aforementioned ex-infantry officer, "I absolutely loved the freaking thing. When I commanded a forward operating base in Afghanistan in 2010-2011 and a patrol or convoy with LAV IIIs rocked up looking for a place to stay for the night, you better believe we rolled out the red carpet. For us, each one was a combination long-range surveillance platform, sniper, firebase, and fortress. These puppies rock." But what do you think of the LAV III? Let us know by leaving a comment.